Welcome to Mr. Chalk's Revision Tips. In this video, we will look at transport of water, the apoplast pathway and the symplast pathway. So, a xylem is composed of vessels, triads and preechinum cells. Xylem vessels are tubes. Each of them is made up of vertical rows of cells when the protoplasm and transverse walls disappear and the lignin precipitated on the inner surface is left behind. Each cell is composed of just one cell in which the protoplasm has disappeared and its walls have been lignified. So a xylem is specialised for transporting water and salts from the roots to the leaves in addition to supporting the plant. Turgid pressure as a result of osmosis in the plant provides a hydrostatic skeleton that supports the stems and leaves. So for example, the turgid pressure of a leaf is around 1.5 millipascals. So that is considerably more than human blood pressure. The loss of water by evaporation helps keep the plant cool. Mineral ions and the products of photosynthesis are also transported in aqueous solutions. So water is the raw material for photosynthesis. So in the apoplast pathway, so this is the movement of water through the cell walls and intracellular spaces. Water fills the spaces between the loose open network of fibers in the cellulose cell wall. So as water molecules move into the xylem, more water molecules are pulled through the apoplast pathway behind them due to the cohesive forces in between the water molecules. The pull from the water moving into the xylem and up the plant along the cohesive forces between the water molecules creates a tension that means there is a continuous flow of water through the open structure of the cellulose walls, which offers little or no resistance. So we're looking at how does the water move through the apoplast pathway. So key things to talk about is the fact that the apoplast pathway is one of two main pathways for water transport in plants. In the apoplast water transport pathway, water and minerals flow in an upward direction, and some of the ions that enter through the roots do not make it into the xylem. So in the symplast pathway, so this is a continuous cytoplasm in living plant cells that is connected by plasmodesmata, and then the water moves through by osmosis. So the root hair cell has a higher water potential than the next cell along. This is a result of water diffusing from the soil, which has made the cytoplasm more dilute. So water moves from the root hair cell to the next door one by osmosis. This process continues from cell to cell across the root until the xylem is reached. So if we're looking at why the apoplast pathway is faster, it's because the water is moving around the cells. It doesn't need to move within the cell, so none of the cellular functions or any sort of metabolism within the cell really makes a difference. And if we're looking at what the symplast pathway is, the symplast pathway is the pathway in which water molecules move through plasmodesmata region of cells, so they're moving from cell to cell. Mineral ions are actively transported into the root hair cells. So the root hair cells have many mitochondria to provide ATP. So in the vacuole of root hair cells, there is stored starch which can be easily converted into glucose. As mineral ions are transported into cells, the water potential within them decreases. So the water potential in the soil around the root is higher than it is in the cell, therefore the water moves down a concentration gradient by osmosis. So the water moves through the root hair cells towards the endodermis. Mineral ions are actively transported towards the endodermis through protein channels. ATP provides the energy needed for the conformational change in the proteins that allow mineral ions to be actively transported through them. As mineral ions are transported from cell to cell, they lower the water potential of that cell. Therefore, water will move through the root because it moves down the concentration gradient towards the xylem. Between the root hair cells and the xylem is a waterproof layer called the Casparian strip. This layer is made of cellulose, which contains extra hydrophobic material, which is called cerberin. Water moves through the symplast pathway, so the continuous cytoplasm within the living cells that is connected through the plasmodesmata by osmosis, like we've said. So the root hair cell that has a higher water potential than the next cell along. So this is a result of the water diffusing into it from the soil. So water moves from root hair cell into the one next door by osmosis. This process continues until the xylem is reached. As water leaves the root hair cell by osmosis, the water potential of the cytoplasm falls again, and this maintains a steep water potential gradient to ensure that as much water as possible continues to move into the cell from the soil. The movement of water through the apoplast, pathway, the cell walls and intracellular spaces, so water fills these spaces between the loose open network of fibers in the cellulose wall. As water molecules move into the xylem, more water molecules are pulled through the apoplast pathway behind them by the cohesive forces that act between individual water molecules. As water moving through the apoplast pathway reaches the Casparian strip, it enters the cell and joins the symplast pathway. So the pull from the water moving into the xylem and up the plant with the cohesive forces between the water molecules creates a tension that means there is a continuous flow of water through the open structure of the cellulose wall, which offers little or no resistance.
Thanks for watching.